This is the most boring thing to hear, but it's also made the biggest difference in my business. It's not a funnel, it's not a marketing strategy, it's not some clever positioning trick. Really, it's about being exceptionally good at what you do. I know you may have heard this before, but hear me out. This actually matters a lot more than most people think. In my first company, I hit a wall. I was doing branding and web design, and this was right when there was this industry shift from print to web, and I pivoted pretty quick, but so did everyone else. You couldn't throw a rock in Portland, Oregon, where I lived, without hitting a creative, and a lot of them were just as good as me, if not more experienced. So I found myself competing on price, and the only way I could win business was through relationships, networking events, coffee dates, handshakes, and all of that, right? And I spent months, actually years, doing this, and it was exhausting. And the real problem is that I didn't have anything that made me categorically better. I had a portfolio, I had some nice websites, maybe people had heard some good things about me, but I didn't have the proof. I didn't have as many case studies that showed the real tangible results. But without all those case studies, selling was hard. And I just wasn't as confident, and I didn't know how to show someone why they should choose me over someone else other than just liking me, right? And I found out just how stuck I was when I couldn't take maternity leave without shutting the whole business down. And that was my wake-up call. So I went looking for the real problem. And what I found is that there was something I was actually quite a bit better at than branding, better at than web design. And I was actually really good at helping people remove themselves from the day-to-day in the business, which is ironic because that was the exact thing I hadn't figured out for myself in this business. But I'd done it before in a company that I managed. And really, I understood how to help people find leverage, how to be able to systematize, how to be able to build something that didn't depend entirely on them. And I realized that was my sweet spot, helping people leverage what they've already built. So I made a decision. I'm going to become the very best at that. Not good, the best. And the way I decided to do that was simple. I was going to fill my website with case studies, not testimonials, case studies, real tangible results that I could point to and say, this is what we do. This is what's possible. And I started by interviewing business owners, understanding their problems. I did cheap sessions, sometimes as little as $100, helping people find 10 extra hours a week in their business. And I didn't have it all figured out, but I knew that if I could solve it for enough people, I'd be able to start seeing the patterns. And I did. And I started building a system. And that system became the foundation of my company. And every client I took on, I was thinking, can I create a transformation with this person? Can this become a big case study? And I got better and better at qualifying that. And I started defining success conditions. What needs to be in place for us to deliver our best work? What kind of clients can we actually get results for? There was one case study that really changed everything for me, and it really built my confidence too, in fact. So a number of years back, there was a gentleman that came in, his name is Brandon, and his company was just eating him alive. And as I later found out, he told me this much later than we'd worked together, but he was working till 1 o'clock every single night, sometimes through the night. I'd ask him some of these questions, but he kind of held some of this back. I think he was a little bit ashamed of just how stuck in the business that he was. But what I helped him do was I helped him be able to look at his business and say, how do we be able to make this sustainable? And we looked at his product lines and we said, you know what? You're actually underpricing here. How do we be able to charge a higher price point here? And because of the outcomes that they were actually able to provide, once we actually just systematized his business around those outcomes, he was able to double his price point. He actually could have charged 3 times as much, but double was a really good place for him to go. And what also ended up happening is the whole onboarding process that used to take months and months, he was able to strip back to just a few weeks. And we were able to put in place some structures for how they were actually able to deliver their service in a way that actually increased the quality. They removed him from the day-to-day, and also they were able to double their price point on that. So all of that being said, he's able to take himself out of the day-to-day in the business and go from working, around the clock sometimes, it was just unbelievably stressful, to being able to work just 10 hours per week. He was able to spend that extra time investing in other product businesses that he had all these ideas for, because he was able to invest all this other time in building these other pieces of software that he was really excited about building. And he was also able to retire his wife. And that was so incredible because it allowed them to be able to grow their family. They had another baby. This was really beautiful time that they were able to spend together as a family. And that was something that built my confidence so much. And I was able to actually see what I was able to do is I was able to see the commonalities and what actually needed to shift across all different kinds of businesses that we worked with to be able to create similar types of transformations. So it also proved to me that we could solve higher quality problems and we could go after clients that looked like Brandon. We could fill our business with clients that were just like him. And what happened is that when we started doing that, I just really enjoyed my work that much more because I knew the work that we did made such a big impact. So at this point, this really gave me insights into knowing what results we could create for who and under what conditions. And what's better, I could sleep at night making an offer to someone because I believed from the depths of my soul it was the right thing for them. And here's the problem is if I didn't believe believe it, I just couldn't sell it. I couldn't. But when I had the case studies to back it up, selling became so much easier for me. Not because I necessarily got better at persuasion, but because I had proof. That built my confidence and it also let me charge more. In fact, it was quite a bit more than most people at my level were charging at the time, because I wasn't selling hours or deliverables. I was selling a transformation that I knew I could deliver. And what this did is it allowed me to be able to build a sustainable business. At the time I had little kids at home. I didn't want to be grinding the way that I saw my colleagues grind. So instead I optimized for impact per hour. So I looked at the biggest results we could create in the shortest time with the clearest conditions. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I know we get great results, but it still feels harder than it should. Well, that's the bottleneck that we help firms solve. When your results aren't clearly defined, repeatable, and operationalized, then selling stays heavier than it needs to be, pricing stays inconsistent, and growth depends too much on you being involved. We run a short clarity call to identify where your existing results aren't being leveraged into a repeatable transformation and what needs to change for your business to scale with less friction and more margin. It's a session on how to turn what's already working into something that's going to compound for you. If this sounds useful, you can apply for a free session using the link below. So yeah, the boring thing that drives growth is building a body of work that proves that you are exceptionally good at what you do, the case studies, the tangible results, the transformations that you can point to.